Kwashi.
Please sit down. That introduction makes me humble, and I want to thank the media team for packaging that. I'm ordinarily a shy person when it comes to personal introductions. I'm easily called Ben, and I prefer that way. Welcome, each one of you, to this first conference of all of us. We are all PSJ. Please clap for yourselves. But being the host, I must welcome specially our speakers who we carefully selected. And let me begin with Hajia Khadijat. I'm proud of her. She doesn't know. Because, you know, when you are in politics, in a state where it's a little bit thick with people like, yes, I'm challenged by height. Bring it down a bit. Thank you. Thank you. Say like Niger State. I mean, what else do you want? And for a woman to get up, we prayed. I prayed. Well, we'll continue to pray. And she's one of our speakers. For a woman, and those of you who are with me the day before, was it the day before yesterday? I spoke extensively about any community that wants to grow and succeed and become noted in the world. That community can easily be determined by the way it treats its women. If you treat your woman in a family, and you remember I told you the secret of raising children, if you love your wife desperately, and you love your wife recklessly, and you love her with everything, she will raise good children, because she will transfer her love to the children. So for us to have Hajia Khadijat, I'm just waiting to hear what she will tell us, you know. We're proud of you, ma'am. Professor Gundu, we are glad. I don't think we've met closely, but I have followed some of your walks, and so we also welcome you. We're going to listen to someone whose experience is so rich in helping us to arrange ourselves together as we motivate, we mobilize, and organize as civil societies in this country. Honorable Emmanuel Ibeshi, young man, went into politics and made waves from 1999 till today. Again, he has an insight to help young people to navigate I shouldn't say what I told him in public, but it's thick. The political terrain in Nigeria is thick. Is thick. You can come with great ideas. There are people who crush it down very easily. In fact, the political terrain in Nigeria has defied prayers. It's not prayers now that works with the politicians anymore. You face them squarely and cast out the demons directly before it works. So this is what we're going to have today in the next 2 hours. Now, the point is, we just don't want you to be motivated, way away from it. We want you to be motivated and mobilized so that we can organize, because this nation, if there is any reason why we are unable to make a headway, is the lack of getting our civil societies organized into a powerful entity and move. And I'll just give you a few points. The first one is, because the majority of those who are here are young, listen carefully. The first thing you must do is begin to fight those amongst you who, when you are aggrieved, begin to destroy property. You are destroying your future. Destruction solves no problems. Burning down of houses or churches solves no problems. So the first thing we must begin to look at is how to build. Look, I am a Nigerian. I went to school when Nigeria took me over as a child. I went to St. Luke's here, primary school. Half of my class in Jos, those that are still alive, are people only to discover now that they are from Kano, from Jigawa, from Zaria. That's the Nigeria I grew up in. We all said the same Lord's Prayer. It was much after we have grown that I said, but we were all in the same class. I was a best man to a classmate of mine who's a Muslim. We went to the mosque. His children today, when they are wedding, if I'm around, I'm usually the chairman. I remember one of them in Kaduna was wedding, and I came with my clerical collar with my cross, and he said, Baba gaskiya da ka zo da babban riga da bazan yafe ba. Don na ga musu dukkan bishop baba na ne. That's the Nigeria we grew up in. I grew up in a Nigeria where my generation went for weekend in London. You don't need a visa. I was embarrassed in 1986 when I was asked to get a visa. Nigeria was a dignified nation. Where the school I went, my father doesn't even know the commandant, doesn't even know the road to military school. And yet I got admission. 4 of us from Jos went at the same time. I remember visiting my older cousin in ABU, and he gave me a ticket, and we queued. I was in military school. There was chicken, Fanta, and I like visiting him at weekends because you go and eat things. The university now is full of bucaterias. But the reason is very simple. When you develop a building mentality, then you are ready to reform. No reformer destroys. A reformer is always thinking of the betterment of the next person. But listen carefully. A reformer is not even thinking of himself. He's thinking of not even his children. He's thinking of the 3rd generation. Begin to develop thinking. And I hear people stupidly say, I'm keeping it for my children. As long as you are alive, your children are okay. Why can't you think for your great-grandchildren? What Nigeria will they be in? Because right now in Nigeria, 70% of Nigeria, out of the 200 million, 70%, no, sorry, I'm wrong, 80% are under 30. So those of us, I'll be 70 in a year and a half. So I'm among the abject minority in this country. If there is going to be a reform now, I am urging those who are 30 and below, forget about us the elders. We've wasted your generation. We've wasted the resources that should build you up. You must be a thinker of the future. Think of your children right now at 30. Think of your grandchildren at 30, and begin to think of a Nigeria your grandchildren will be when you are 60. That's where reform begins. Reform begins when you talk to your neighbor. And you're not, one of the things that will not help you to reform is when you sit with people and in 5 minutes you have complained from president to governor. It's a waste of time. Everybody knows the problem already. A reformer is a problem solver. When I bought the land where I built the Bishop's Court, everybody told me how it is impossible to live there. It's in the bush. Nobody lives there. There's no road, actually. No light, nothing. I built it and stayed there in the bush. And the governor then was looking for me. Then they told him that's where I was. So when he came, there was no road. He now graded the road. The NEPA manager for the Northeast, we met where I was preaching in America. He came and he was looking for my house. He saw it, no light. He said, no. He brought a transformer in my name and put it there. He was going to put it in my house. I said, no, put it at the junction so that everybody can tap from it. Excuse me, in less than 20 years, they call that area now New Abuja. And I was just 40 something years old when I started this. Women used to come and cut down the trees. I fought, I stopped it. Right now, in the plot of land that covers the bishop's house, monkeys come there, birds come there. So you think way ahead, because I was worried about the animals. I mean, they come and cut down my mangoes and all that. That's true, but that's what we need. We've got to start thinking. When you are building a house and there is no water flow when it rains, just be ready for a flood, and you will pay for it at that time. Why don't you think? So reformers are thinkers and problem solvers. They are not complainers. If you sit with two people and they are complaining, move away from there, because they won't help you. They are like Tokumbo cars, always in the workshop. We don't want to hear the problems of Nigeria. We know it. We're looking for those who will solve it. It used to be that if you are a good graduate, they sent you to teach in primary school. In fact, those of us who went to the school I went to, military school, Zaria, the best school in Nigeria, the very best. If you say your own is the best, that's your headache. But military school Zaria is the best. The Nigerian army used to employ second class, upper and first class to teach us. We need quality teachers, not quality schools. We should begin to look at our educational system, where when they teach children, their mind is interacting with the education that is valuable, and that is where creativity is made. When education, a teacher teaches who is a quality teacher, he allows children not to parrot, but to interact with the education and search and research, so that there is inventiveness, there is creativity, and then there is production. The only reason we are consumers is because our teachers have taught laziness, and laziness can never be blessed by God. Nowhere is laziness blessed. We're looking for reformers. I hope they are here. Are they here? And listen carefully, reformation has no gender, which is why we are proud of Ajia Khadija. It has no gender. A woman should be able to stand up and say a lie. A man, just as a man can. Until we reset our minds to reformation. And generally, reformers are people who are ready to lay down their lives and sacrifice for other people. Lay down your life and sacrifice for other people. In the last 7 years, I've gone back to teaching in primary and secondary school. Now I'm licensed. I now teach. Because that's where we should start. Those who reform must see people that they love and respect, teaching them at lower level. We must go back to the villages. It used to be that villages is where you go and get people who will build houses for you. Not anymore. You can send all the money to the villages. The 419s are there. The landowners and land grants are there. What is the reason? We have abandoned where we should be investing. And now they have become better dupes. Finally, on that point, if we are going to make any headway in reformation, we must agree that cheating, lying, and stealing are not part of us. And I'll tell you why. God does not bless sin, regardless of religion. If you steal, it's a curse. If you cheat, it's a curse. If you lie, it's a curse. But anytime there is an honest man anywhere, just wait and see how God will bless that place. God identifies with honesty. Look, England, as youths, we went to England. We thought it was something great. My father wanted me to study in Cambridge. I went there. So everybody's on bicycle. I was disappointed. I came back. I said, Baba, the beds are too small. The rooms are too small. In Nigeria, we have big rooms. We have space. So almost my education is at home. But there's something you cannot beat England for. No matter how mad you are as a Nigerian, when you go to England, your senses will be correct. Because of discipline and order. And you can trust an proper Englishman, you can trust him. That's why our people, when they take all their money, they take it to England. Because Oyibo man will give you. Honesty is always blessed. And an honest community will be blessed. Because an honest community is guided by discipline and order. We can do it. I've been there. They also go to the toilet like we do. So why can't we build our own London here? We can do it. Reformers are people who have chosen the path of honesty, of discipline, and of order. When we say discipline, don't think of you disciplining somebody else. Discipline yourself. This is not a political forum. But growing up as a kid, and up till today, I'm still PRP of Malam Aminu Kano. So I'm not one of those. My mentality is PRP. I know all of them. Gambusa, Waba, Bala, Usman, Balarabe, Musa. So these are the people I respect. These are the people I like. So they are my models. People who sacrifice for others. And in my lifetime, God has called me to this ministry. There's hardly any town or village in northern Nigeria that I've not served. If I mention them, you won't even know villages here. Up to Nupe land, I've been everywhere. God has helped me. So we must be willing to sacrifice and lay down. That is when we can say, now we are fighting justice. Because you cannot fight for justice with injustice in your pocket. You can't. Some newspaper man will say, Oga, we saw you, the money they gave you the other day, and your mouth will be shut. And yet, that is what all transformers do. All reformers, that's what they do. They fight for justice for everybody. The farmers that were massacred in their farms in Borno the other year. 80 farmers slaughtered at once. No civil society raised its voice. Nobody. I cried. Villages in Niger State, in Kebbi State, in Zamfara. Where are we? Where are the people? Must it always be a pastor preaching? Can't we generally wake up as human beings? Thank you, Godwin, for telling us our humanity. Remind, we are human beings. We should rise for fellow Nigerians. We should rise. The number of killings in Nigeria, listen, if you tabulate it, and we have, 90% of them are poor people in the villages. People who are not contesting any office, people who are not looking for ₦1 million, people who just want their daily bread and survive. They are the ones massacred. And no senior citizen, no, people have not said anything. School children abducted, NYSC abducted, and so-called we have leaders. The world should come to a halt. Only 6 people were killed in France, in Paris the other day. Heads of governments came all over. We're talking about a Nigeria where hundreds are killed, 200, 150, 50, 60. It's now installmentally, but when you tally it together, it's thousands of people killed. The other day, a friend of mine in the US, they were praying for the 3,000 that were killed because of 9/11. I joined them in the prayers. But when I was asked to speak, I said, let me put it to you in perspective. On the 11th of September 2001, 3,000 people were killed in the US. It never happened again. On the 7th of September, the same 2001, 4 days before 9/11, 150 people were killed in Jos. And since that time to today, more than 30,000 people have been killed. In Plateau State alone, their names and home addresses are there. And it hasn't stopped. What kind of nation are we? This is why we are looking for reformers. People who will think differently to save lives from abortion, to save lives from self-destruction, drugs and all, to save lives from killers and murderers who come from outside of other nations to come and kill our own people, and our leaders do nothing. We must change. We must change. Every Nigerian human being is a Nigerian human being. We must protect lives. We are not destroyers. We are builders. At least that was the country that I grew up in. Even when I went to military school, that was what we were indoctrinated with. Good doctrine. We are builders. We are government property to serve Nigeria and serve the humanity in Nigeria. We are protectors and servants of the land. And that doctrine has stayed with me even in ministry. People who stand for justice. Transformation is a natural product of reformers and seekers of justice. It's a natural product. Things begin to change. If we have transformed fathers here and mothers, take it from me, your children are going to do the same. Just look at the Gandhi family. All right? Just look at the Gandhi family. Look at the Bush family. Just see people who have stood. Look at the Martin Luther family. MLK. Even the daughters are fighters for justice because it flows. Children watch what parents do. Children have models. Like I've refused to change my political philosophy. I'm still a PRP because I fight for justice. I remember they told us, Malam used to say, so that's the philosophy. I have never won election. All the people I've supported, they never win. But we must make sure we stop thieves from winning. If we know you are not good, we will say it. Although as a pastor, I'm not allowed to say it publicly. But when people ask me, I say, Garamum bitanang, kakaboshitanang. Mujhe tachang. Into, we must be people with philosophy of reform, of justice. Transformation will come, and it's over time. One of my heroes, both as a pastor and in politics, is William Wilberforce. For 43 years, he was fighting the slave trade. In the 43rd year, slave trade was abolished. 3 months later, he died. Listen carefully. When that bill was passed, a gentleman by the name of Henry Leake was a captain of the Royal Navy. And as soon as it was passed, he took his military ship and arrested several boats. One of the boats is called Mimidon. And he took the slaves to Freetown. There was one young boy in that boat who was being freed. As he was going out of the boat of his slave masters, the slave masters were now arrested and were chains. This slave boy slapped the captain of that ship and ran away. The name of that slave boy is Samuel Ajayi Crowther. The girl he was to marry later was also in that boat. Her name was Susan. Samuel became a committed Christian. Captain Henry Leake was interested in this courageous boy who was able to slap a white man, took interest in him. Samuel excelled in Freetown. Right there in Freetown, he met Yoruba people, Fulani people, Hausa people, brought them together, and Igbos, and began to teach them how to read and write. And he translated the Bible into Yoruba, Igbos, up to Nupe. He did all of that way back there. The expedition team was beginning to come out, looking for how to do their industries and sell their wares. Crowther was in the boat in 1841. He came. When they found Crowther very, very useful. Meanwhile, he was a headmaster in Freetown. They now recommended him to go to school in England in 1842. At that time, no black man was considered fit to read theology, because it was said the black man's brain was at best like a monkey's brain, unqualified to learn. Crowther sat exams and passed. But they were afraid to put his papers forward for ordination. So they took his papers to Cambridge, and the professors looked at it. Latin, Greek, Hebrew, including theology, cleared it. Their recommendation was, if this is not good enough for ordination, nobody is. He was ordained 1843 and released to Nigeria as a priest in the wilderness of Nigeria. This is the man who started all the schools that you know. The first printing press, CMS Grammar School. He started the agricultural unit in Lokoja. He went as far as Yola, came to Umaisha, traveled way back, and was going to go to Kano when he died in 1890. This was way before Nigeria was formed. I'm talking about 1841 to 1890. Nigeria was formed 1914. A reformer, a man of social justice, and one who transformed. The foundation of this nation was laid by Crowther. He brought cassava, he brought plantain, he brought maize, he brought Irish potato. Just in case you don't know, I leave you with that transformer. I thank you.